I went to St. Louis, Missouri the other day. Had Black Panthers from all over the country. No one knew about it at all. They had machine guns, recoilless rifles, grease guns, Lugers, 25 of them, all armed. And the chief policeman here at the airport when I arrived, they were there, right there at the steps. He said you were violating the law. Yeah, we're violating the law. He said, we're tired of our white and black leaders, Jackie and Martin and Bobby being killed. We're going to protect this man while he's here. They didn't arrest one of them. Because they say
Special alert, special alert.
Because we are ready to kill. Black power means black dignity. Just as surely as you're proud to be white, we're proud to be black. Black is beautiful, baby. It's pretty. I always say to my brothers, I say, they don't worry about white chicks. We got everything from chalk to charcoal in our own race. Black power means dignity. Means we're gonna walk side by side with you, or through you. We're gonna be with dignity and integrity. We don't want any more than you have, and we're not gonna accept any less than you have. That's my enough.
Progress is being made. If you take a knife and my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. You pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that's below me. And they haven't even begun to pull a knife out, much less trying to heal the wound. They won't even admit the knife is there.
Power to the people. Well, as you see on the screen, the U.S. and Israel strike Iran. Tehran retaliates. Say they sent over 100 drones. It's hard to shoot them all down. But what's next? America with 3Ks. Oh, you ain't joking. Well, as you also see on the screen, you can give to the benevolent fund Black Ophinum #1. Well, that's $ Black Ophinum #1 on Cash App, and help towards the People's Network, the People's Show, giving you more what you laid your hands on your radio for sure. So yeah, they done did some major damage over there in Tel Aviv, and it would seem that Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in an Israeli airstrike. And we'll give you a little bit more on that as well. A lot been happening that has affected us, and this will affect us in one way or another, because they will be implementing the draft, and that's for men and women. Anyway, let's see.
Says that it has identified as many as 100.
A barrage of missiles over Tel Aviv, and I thought we were broadcasting, but I might have to edit that out. Let's see what's happening. For sure. All right. And as I was saying, Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei killed in Israeli airstrike. And they have done a bunch of them.
With a Fox News alert, overnight, Israel launching sweeping strikes against Iran, targeting its nuclear facilities, military sites, and top commanders.
Several Iranian military leaders and nuclear scientists believed to be dead, and right now, Israel is beginning to intercept drones sent from Iran in retaliation. But Israel says this is just the beginning of their operation.
Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action.
You are watching a special 4 a.m. edition of Fox and Friends First on this Friday morning. I'm Carly Shimkin.
During Ramadan, at that.
In Israel.
Yep, during Ramadan, they would attack Iran during the holy day. Isn't that something? So they have no respect for anybody's belief or anything like that. And I guess it wouldn't matter if it was Christmas.
Says that it has identified as many as 100 drones launched by Iran heading toward Israeli airspace, and Israel says that it has started to at least attempt to shoot down some of those drones over Syrian airspace, as Jordan is attempting to take down some of the drones that are above its airspace. At the same time, we just got this new alert from Israel's home command urging people that they do not need to stay as close to shelters as they had been in the previous hours, indicating that Israel and the Israeli Defense Force believe at this point that they will be able to take out the incoming threat as we await what could be these waves of drones sent over anytime this hour. All of this follows what happened earlier this morning when Israel says it targeted the heart of Iran's nuclear capabilities in an operation it calls Rising Lion.
The Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal.
I think he mean that, you know what I mean? And I need to take a break. Well, a commercial break. Here we go.
No warning, I'm coming deep in the underground. Like TMJ said, I ain't fucking around. Don't give a fuck what they say. I'm coming in politely. So don't play, tread lightly. Justice and me is both blind, see. Didn't come to run away. Stand out the spot. Baby. I came to stay. Make a plan for a better way today. got to get my RPG nation about this situation that we're in. They got me running in circles. Can I get a sip or a light real quick? They make it just get real big. But no warning, I'm coming knee deep in the underground. Like GJ say, we ain't fucking around. I'm a renegade, never drink no hater-aid. It's just how I'm made, sharp as a razor blade. Brown man still a bad mother for you. Real deal, like something you feel. And you speak ill of me, like the F told the G. If you ever with me, get ready for therapy. They never know I'm a phantom night rider, in it for the people. Project Urban Gorilla, in the struggle, yo. Changing up the game on these lanes, peak game. Flunk off half glass of fame. Well, fill up your cup, if that's your thing. But me, I wasn't here. This ain't no game. You never saw me, cuz I never came. That's them little white lies that they claim. But you know what I say? No warning, we coming knee deep in the underground. Like GMJ say, we ain't fucking around. Time to stand on up. I didn't stutter. I ain't got to get gangsta up in here and stick up Wild Bill Hiccup. The homies know we got to click up, show enough. And the brakes getting picked up. Ain't so tough when the hood rough you up. Shout out to Ice. It looks thrilled. The hood man of steel. We both been lied to. Let's keep it real. I'm Morpheus. In my black power fist is a black power pill. For the resurrection of the mental dead. Like Shabaka said, plug that shit back in their head.
Black powerful. Yeah, all power to the people. We got breaking news, and let me go ahead and hit it.
Yes, Sandra, we just got this in literally 2 minutes ago, but Fox News can confirm that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead following Israeli strikes against his compound and location earlier today. A senior Israeli official confirming this news. Earlier tonight, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu describing the strikes not only against the supreme leader, but against much of the Iranian leadership. We know the breakdown in strikes focused on leadership for the Israelis and military targets initially for the Americans, and has since expanded as this campaign is expected to continue in the days and possibly even weeks ahead. As we're looking at the current situation across the region, we're also gathering new information on what the Israelis have been doing against Iran. We are told from a military official that the largest Israeli Air Force sortie against any country in the world was conducted this morning with 200 Israeli fighter jets targeting 500 different locations, dropping hundreds of munitions on a variety of different targets inside of Iran. The Israelis, while they were going after leadership, were also looking to neutralize the incoming ballistic missile fire that has targeted their country throughout the day. Sirens sounded across Israel throughout the afternoon, sending millions of people into bomb shelters. But again, the takeaway here, the Israelis have killed Iran's supreme leader. That is being confirmed to Fox News by a senior Israeli official. John, Sandra?
Okay, so Trey, you're obviously breaking that news for us just now. We'll be looking for reaction, obviously, on the ground in Iran and all over the Middle East region.
During Ramadan at that.
Absolutely.
What kind of backlash
this is a major
is
blow to the
bring?
Iranian regime. Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, was not a figurehead. He was the man in charge of decisions as it relates to Iran's nuclear program, their expanding ballistic missile program, the hardline positions that made it impossible for the Americans to reach a diplomatic solution with the Iranians. And that led to a variety of conversations behind the scenes. And I can also report, having just gotten off of a background call with a U.S. official, that there were attempts made by the Trump administration, really olive branches given to the Iranians at the negotiating table, asking them to find a solution on the nuclear issue. These other issues, their ballistic missile program, their support of regional proxies, and even the crackdown on protesters, the Trump administration initially was willing to ignore those issues in order to get an agreement together on the nuclear program. And they simply were not willing to come to the table with reasonable demands. And despite the efforts by top negotiators that were sent to Oman and to Switzerland, whether it be Special Envoy Steve Witkoff or President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who we know have been working across the region around the clock over the past year, not just on this issue, but also to get a ceasefire in Gaza and implement the new Board of Peace to create stability in the region. The understanding was that the Iranian regime and the supreme leader himself,
they were to kill him,
these were the last hurdles.
It would be total obliteration to whatever nation
stability
did it.
and instability. And this decision was made overnight by President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to launch these extensive strikes across Iran in order to neutralize that threat. President Trump overnight, when he made those remarks, said there could be American casualties. This is going to be a difficult fight because no war is easy, despite the fact that by tomorrow the Israelis believe they will have air superiority over the skies of Iran. But we have seen the Iranian response today, not just here in Israel, with the ballistic missile fire targeting major population centers, including Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Haifa, but also Gulf countries, Bahrain, the UAE, and Qatar. A regional diplomat telling Fox News this evening that 8 people were injured in Qatar during one of the attacks. One of them is in critical condition. And so there are serious consequences to this counterattack by Iran. But again, tonight, the news that is breaking across the region, Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, according to a senior Israeli official, has been killed.
So, Trey, if that report from the senior Israeli official is correct, the big question is what comes next. The Ayatollah was 86 years old. I imagine that in the theocracy of Iran, they have got clerics lined up to take that position in the same way that they had planes lined up over Ben Gurion on the landing approach. So what does that mean for the future there in terms of the theocracy if that were to continue?
Israel is looking east right now to the threat from Iran, but they're also looking north and south. Iran's largest proxies are Hezbollah, the Lebanese militant group in southern Lebanon, and the Houthis in Yemen. Hezbollah, according to an intelligence official I spoke to recently, still has thousands of rockets and missiles, and around half of them are within range of Israeli cities. And this is a serious threat still posed to Israel, despite the fact that the Israelis have degraded and destroyed much of the Hezbollah arsenal. It still poses a threat to Israel. You might remember, as we reported throughout the past 2.5 years, the Israelis decapitated the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, with a strike in the Dakhya neighborhood of southern Beirut. They went after the missile launching positions we saw on the ground there in southern Lebanon as the Israelis meticulously moved field by field and cave by cave to go after these positions that had been dug into the sides of mountains. But despite those efforts, this is an organization that had decades of support from the Iranian regime, and they were able to smuggle in missiles and rocket components that now make up what is left of that arsenal. And while it is a smaller arsenal than before, it is a threat And Hezbollah in the past, just the past several days, has said that if Iran's supreme leader was targeted, they would get directly involved in this war. And so that is where Israel is focused right now. As it relates to the situation on the ground in Iran, we do have to step back amid all of this military action and these serious decisions that were made by President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. There is still an understanding about how the structure of the Iranian regime operates. Iran's supreme leader reportedly had already prepared successors. Iran's IRGC had already prepared successors for the top commanders of their military, understanding that if a war erupted, these would be the individuals targeted in such a conflict. And so this isn't over. This is actually just beginning.
And
but it does raise questions about the future of the region and where things are headed once this does conclude.
You like, man?
Also crossing right now, a source familiar to Fox News is saying some Gulf partners are responding to Iran defensively and offensively. Trey, since the last time you joined us, top of the last hour, we got word that President Trump had sat down for this several-minute interview with Axios, in which he said he believes he has several off-ramps from Operation Epic Fury, talking about the long and how long
we want everything to be like a movie.
It could end in 2 or 3 days, said the president. He could tell the Iranians, see you again in a few years if you start rebuilding your nuclear missile programs. This was about a 5-minute interview that the president conducted, but suggesting there could still be a diplomatic solution or opportunity, Trey.
Absolutely. This is the Peace Through Strength initiative that the president ran on when he was running for his second term. And when you look at the region, there are players in the region, including the Iranians, that often only understand strength. And that is a fact in the Middle East. And it's the reason that the Israelis have approached the conflicts that they are involved in the way that they have. As it relates to Iran and the possibility of a diplomatic off-ramp, if this does continue for a number of days and the regime is weakened, we have already heard in interviews that took place today from other outlets with Iran's foreign minister, who indicated at least a small interest in a diplomatic path, understanding that at the end of this, the Iranian regime had one major factor, one lever to pull, and that was their ballistic missile program. Now, while they still will fire ballistic missiles, likely in the days ahead, when they have no nuclear weapons, they have a limited supply of missile launchers, and their regional proxies have been decimated over the past 2.5 years, it raises a very significant question. What does Iran have left to fight with if this is an extended campaign that lasts for several days or several weeks? They certainly do pose a threat. They have anti-ship
aim
missiles.
it at where the missiles are launched from,
their ability
instead
that they
of the missiles
and really we should look
themselves,
at October
that
of
would blow up a
2023,
whole
the ability that they had before the war began with Hamas launching the brutal massacre into southern Israel on the morning of October 7th. When you think back 2.5 years ago, this is a totally different Iranian regime. It is a weakened regime. It is a regime that cracked down on protesters, slaughtering, according to President Trump, 32,000 of their own civilians.
Yeah, that's
behavior from a regime that is cornered, understanding that they have very limited options of how to respond. And so the days ahead will be quite interesting to see how the Israelis and the Americans move forward with strikes against Iran.
Propaganda.
But certainly in these situations, we have often seen temporary ceasefires when conflict erupts in order to get some sort of deal together. And just one point here that I want to note, back during the 12-day war,
and get us caught up in the middle of it with our
reported here on the ground that made heavy incoming ballistic
children
missile
and grandchildren,
that
brothers
was
and
unfolding
sisters,
with casualties here in Israel. More than 24 people killed. The Israelis launching a series of strikes across Iran, trying to take out those air defense systems.
With either blood on their hands or blood.
Operation Midnight Hammer, that the Iranians suddenly responded just once against a base in Qatar, the Al Udeid base,
worse,
and then in a way backed off. And it was President Trump, one man, who was able to decide the outcome of what comes next. And I remember a moment here on the ground,
one man.
Israeli fighter jets were in the skies on their way to continue the bombing campaign against Iran. And President Trump got on the phone and called off the strike.
What we should do
so when the president feels that there's an opportunity
goddamn
for a deal,
Epstein shit,
there are options and offerings.
Man, we're too busy to talk about that. We're in the middle of a war.
Confirming right here per senior Israeli officials that the supreme leader is gone. Trey, thank you very much. We'll get another update from you shortly.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube.
We won't be doing that, Sean Hannity. But what we will be doing is we're gonna show Jack Dempsey in the background, but we ain't gonna play it because I got something to say. First of all, Epstein ain't dead. Epstein was taken out the back door of that damn prison because he's too rich to be in something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Way too rich. Him and Diddy both. I think they took Diddy out the back door as well. But they're going to bring him back in the front door and get him all situated and a little more rich off of the whole thing because he kept not only his mouth shut, he kept the files shut wherever they are. But believe me, if they make one false move, files is getting shipped everywhere. And he probably got certain files on certain people too, you know what I mean? Like friends, like his old buddy Jay-Z, you know? Down to politicians like y'all. Your president. Oh, that's Jack Johnson beating up Tommy Burns. Now, in this fight, they stopped it. The police stopped it. But they never stopped playing the footage. But the police stopped them from broadcasting it. So a lot of people think it was missing footage right about there, but it wasn't really missing footage. It was the okie doke. And we got the missing footage coming to you. But I wanted to say is, they got the draft implemented. They already got National Guard in different cities ready for it to pop off. You know what I mean? They did it all in advance because they know what's going to happen. So they're going to mess with a terrorist nation. Well, they're the ones calling somebody terrorist. They just retaliate in a terroristic way. But don't everybody. I mean, if you're going to retaliate, that's the way to retaliate. If you're going to retaliate, don't be bullshit. You know what I mean? Don't be BSing when you retaliate. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah, Jim Jeffries, he was beating everybody's ass. Him, that big plow country boy, sort of like Brock Lesnar, and he just beating them down with the haymaker, and he decided to retire. And all these guys here, including Jack Johnson, were contenders. But of course, you know, they didn't want to let the black man up in there. So, but it was a lot of black contenders that you know that was beating them down. I'll tell you what. And they you know, they had Tommy Hearns back then, Sugar Ray Leonard's back then, Jack Johnson back then, Big Jack. Yeah. I met my granddaddy. He had a picture of Jack Johnson on his wall, knocking that dude out. I forget which one, but it was the last one. It might have been this guy here, Tommy Burns. But no, it wasn't Tommy Burns because he knocked Tommy Burns down, but he never knocked Tommy Burns out. Tommy Burns went all the way to the 14th round. And so they lied on the film. See, it was the 7th round when they stopped it, right? And they lied and said that was the 14th round, but that wasn't the 14th round. But we gonna see all the way to the end, to the 14th round, where he was Slugger McGee. You know. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Our people gonna be wind up in this mess, and that's what they want. They want us to wind up in it. That way we wind up over there somewhere where we can't protect ours over here. And that's where we come in. We'll be protecting ours over here, you know, because they don't want no psychopaths going. Might shoot the commander on the way there and hijack the plane and take that joint somewhere where it's nice and warm. Land that joint right over there, man. I see a nice little spot right over there. And ain't never been cultivated, ain't even on the map. Take me there. Drop me off. Well, that's just me. I don't know about you. So, but don't take me to the war zone and drop me off nowhere. Hell no. Hit the beach. Yo, got to be crazy. You hit the beach. I'll be here when you get back, if you get back. If you don't get back and they attack this ship, we won't be here when you get back. That's for sure. If I see soldiers coming toward the shore and they ain't our soldiers, y'all getting left here. I ain't bullshitting. I'm not joking. We heading back to whatever the hell we came off of, an aircraft carrier, a destroyer, or whatever the hell we came from. That's what we going back to. And we're going to make sure they bomb the shit out of the shoreline so that y'all can get back to the shoreline and get another vessel to come and get y'all, because we ain't coming. I ain't coming out there. You got to be kidding me. Well, maybe after they finish bombing the shit out the shoreline, we might think about it. But then again, why would we do that? Now that they done bombed the shoreline, they know what's up. They were like, oh, they bombed the shoreline. They must be coming in. And they be ready for us to come in. They be bombing the shoreline back. Oh, hell no, man. Shoreline is nowhere for y'all to be. I think what you need to do is advance further inward, advance into enemy territory, all the way into enemy. I mean, you know, do it sort of like they did when them white folks went down to the Capitol and they pretended that they was breaking in, wink, wink, because the commander and thief was like, man, you better not hurt my people. You know I'm going to let them out later any goddamn way. Say, this ain't nothing but a ruse. Like almost as good as the ruse they're going to do when they make believe they shot my ear off. Ouch. They shot my ear off. God damn. You motherfucker. And he raising his fist and shit. And Secret Service like, keep your head down, Mr. President, for a real sniper get you. Say, we already hit you with the Ed McMahon solution. You know, we got the fake blood on your ear. We're going to stop by the hospital. We're going to get a bandage on that ear. And in a day or two, we're going to take that bandage off like nothing happened. Bullshit, man. It would have had ear parts all over the place. And a little bit of brain matter, I think. Maybe he actually got shot in the head. I don't know. What y'all say? Put it in the comments where you're from and what you're doing and what you're thinking about America bombing Iran. I mean, they assisted Israel. They ain't just go over there and bomb them now. They say they assisted Israel, but it's more like Israel say, yeah, we with it. So, and so why would you go on the holy day though? Even Israel must be messed up with this, because they supposed to be Jewish. They supposed to be honoring the holy times and stuff like that, because it's Ramadan. So why would you attack those people during Ramadan? Well, first of all, it proves that you're a no good, rotten bastard. And you don't give a damn. And it's a good opportunity. Shit, if you're an opportunist, man, you'd be like, shit, I'm an opportunist in a way, because I used to always want to get the rehearsals in so we could get some good recordings in with the band, right? You say, all right, well, here it is. It's a holiday. Where is everybody at? Well, we know where everybody is. Sure, all we got to do is go on and get to the picnic. And we're going to jam out right there at the picnic. No joke. Well, the cookout. We don't use the word picnic around here. Anyway, power to the people. Most time, if there was a football game, I would definitely interrupt it. I'm gonna definitely interrupt a football game. I don't give a damn. Playoff football, the Super Bowl. Man, don't tell me you can't watch that while we play. Of course you can watch it while we play. You know, Just watch it. And when you see somebody getting ready to make a touchdown, do a roll, do a drum roll. You know what I mean? Because I can always catch my drummer at home. Like, well, turn the TV up a little bit. No, we can't do that because they'll get on the recording, man. Come on. You're like, oh, it'll give it a good effect. No, you can't give it a good effect with somebody with the Super Bowl, especially with the Super Bowl. We get all kind of sanctions and we won't be able to play it no damn where. But hopefully, under the Fair Use Act, we can keep this Jack Johnson going with Tommy Burns. Oh, man, that was Sydney, Australia, December the 26th, 1908. Here we go, Big Jack, ready to knock him out. Now, he was a rock'em sock'em, knock your block off. Yep. So, yeah, we're going to show the missing footage while we contemplate on what just happened. And for those people that just came in and not sure about what I mean, what just happened, they might just came in the room. They might be like, "What are you talking about, Jack Johnson?" No, I'm talking about this. This just happened. The U.S. and Israel strike Iran, and Tehran retaliates over 100 drones, and they killed their supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei. Khamenei, yeah, Ayatollah Khamenei. So they killed their leader on Ramadan, and I think there's going to be some retaliation. What y'all think? But in the meantime, in between time, let's get back to this. Because there's some hidden footage they ain't want to show. They ain't talking about 7th round, man. They should have gave the white boy some due. It's like, man, he took it all the way to 14th round. Shoot, he took it to the distance. You know what I mean? With Big Jack. It's like he just kept getting up. Jack knock him down, he get back up again. Get back up. Here we go. This is the missing footage right here. Some of it. And just for y'all, I'm going to do this. Because I'm talking about the bombing, but I'm showing
bursts of attack. Johnson appeared unmarked, at least on the surface. But Burns possessed fighting skills of his own, and on occasion landed telling blows. In the days following the bout, reports surfaced that Johnson had visited Manly Hospital for treatment of 2 broken ribs. Finally, in the 14th round, with Burns exhausted and the punishment mounting, police stepped in to halt the contest. Jack Johnson was declared the winner. The press response was swift and unforgiving. Burns was savaged for his defeat. His reputation largely diminished by dispatches that emphasized his failure to satisfy a white audience. Even former champion Jim Jeffries denounced Burns as unworthy of the title. Johnson, by contrast, was lamented for his victory, but praised for his mastery in the ring and acknowledged as the legitimate heavyweight champion of the world.
And
the film of the bout was rushed into processing. A highlight reel was screened just days after the event, and by March 1909, the complete motion picture was screened internationally with considerable financial success. Within a few years, however, the Johnson-Burns film met the fate of many early fight pictures. Prints were packed into storage, passed into private hands, destroyed by fire, or simply discarded.
And check
the film remained out of circulation for decades, until around 1960, when an enterprising handball champion and fight film collector named Jim Jacobs located a partial print. Jacobs presented the footage on CBS in 1962. By then, he had partnered with television producer Bill Caton to form a production company, Big Fights Incorporated. Caton, himself an avid collector, had been licensing 12-minute digest versions of historic boxing films for television since the late 1940s. The discovery of the Johnson-Burns film was a remarkable find, but it posed a dilemma. Only a single reel had been recovered, containing just the middle rounds of the fight. Years later, Jacobs explained what happened.
The request goes on because there is, I only have one reel of the Jack Johnson-Tommy Burns fight in 1908 in Sydney, Australia. In Rushcutters Bay. I went to Sydney to get that film. A collector called me and said he had one reel of it. And I got on an airplane and flew to Sydney to buy that one reel. It was around.
Because an incomplete movie had no commercial value, the decision was made to re-edit the footage to create the appearance of a complete film. In 1965, Big Fights Incorporated released a heavily altered version of the Johnson-Burns film with rounds reordered and relabeled to suggest a full restoration, and with an ending that was entirely fabricated.
The police shut off the cameras and stop the fight.
While the altered film did not change the fundamental truth of Johnson's overwhelming victory, its existence carried lasting consequences. Historians and filmmakers, relying on the fabricated version, have since perpetuated a false narrative of the fight. Whether the complete film still exists is unknown, and the surviving reel remains in private hands. However, portions of the deleted footage were shown during Jim Jacobs' 1962 CBS appearance. When viewed in proper sequence, without freeze-frame manipulation, the fight takes on a revised narrative. The central evidence is the 7th round footage, which Jacobs falsely labeled as the 14th round and the end of the fight. In the opening moments, Johnson launches his most sustained attack of the bout. Going for a knockout, he strikes Burns at will. The champion staggers, seemingly helpless, when the picture freezes.
Boom!
But the cameras were never stopped. With the lost footage inserted, the film continues.
Uh-oh.
Burns not only remains on his feet, but surprisingly rebounds, attacking Johnson again. Johnson reversed to defensive tactics. Once more, in slow motion, the missing clip
the one
taken
that
from the
called for the
CBS
black
broadcast is dark, but it bridges the gap in the
to the
film,
forefront and
confirming
box
that the
him.
cameras were never
The
stopped,
rest of them wouldn't even
and
box.
this wasn't the end of the fight, as
Jack
had been
Johnson
claimed.
and the other great black fighters that they had back then. So shout out to Tommy Burns for
At the
giving
2-minute
them
mark,
that opportunity.
Johnson steps in with the left hook, knocking Burns
He even
down.
called for it.
This knockdown, one of 4 in the fight, is the only knockdown to survive on film, and it was also cut from the Big Fights release. The fact that Burns not only survived an early onslaught and a knockdown, but rebounded before the bell, suggests that Johnson may not have been able to end the fight much sooner than he did.
It was knockdown, all right,
not without risk.
Well, quick recovery.
In fact, a review of the fight pictures in Maitland Daily Mercury observed that, quote, during the last few rounds, Johnson's grin vanished, and he evidently did his best to knock his opponent out, but failed. The pattern of the fight continued through rounds 8, 9, and finally, at the end of the 10th round, the surviving footage comes to an end. While the final 4 rounds and post-fight footage remain lost, ample evidence survives describing how the contest actually ended. The New York Times reported, as the round opened, Johnson got through Burns' guard with a left uppercut. It was a terrific smash. Burns went down, rose at the count of 8, and endured another barrage until, quote, hanging on to Johnson completely helpless, the police interfered. Police presence at boxing matches was routine. Officers were empowered to stop a contest if a fighter appeared to be in mortal danger. That is precisely what occurred in the 14th round, when Police Superintendent Mitchell called from ringside and then entered the ring to halt the bout. The Perth Daily News noted, quote, "The referee separated the men, pointed to Johnson, and returned to his corner to be at once surrounded by congratulatory
Burns wasn't going to stop. He was going to keep
According
on going.
to the Hobart Mercury,
had to kill him.
Burns was never counted out and was shown walking, quote, steadily to his corner. The fighters were filmed collecting their paychecks. One account indicates they shook hands, and the audience dispersed within 15 minutes. By all accounts, it was a remarkably ordinary ending to an extraordinary prize fight. While winning the title was vindication for Johnson, the 3 years it took to match Jack Johnson with Tommy Burns are now seen as one of the many injustices Johnson was forced to endure. Yet the delay worked in ways that ultimately benefited him. The international legitimacy Burns established for the heavyweight championship passed to Johnson, affirming him without qualification as the new world champion. During those 3 years, Johnson continued to mature as a boxer, facing some of the fiercest competition of his career, including historic battles with fellow African-American heavyweights Joe Jeanette, Sam McVeigh, and Sam Langford. Competition that he would, ironically, avoid once he became champion. Those years spent shadowing Burns from country to country also transformed Johnson into an international figure. For the first time, he traveled widely overseas. Johnson was welcomed abroad, forming friendships and business relationships that would later prove vital during his years of exile. Tommy Burns, for his part,
went
did not
overseas
linger over his
because of his
defeat.
addiction to white women.
After the fight, he and trainer Patsy Burke drove to the house where Burns was staying with his wife.
Otherwise, he would have had the Mann Act, which they actually got him
worked all
on
day on
in the
Tommy's
United
face
States.
with hot packs and witch hazel, and by night you wouldn't have known he'd been in a fight. Burns later apologized for calling Johnson yellow and conceded that Johnson was simply too big to overcome. 2 years later, short of money, Burns returned to the ring, winning 5 bouts in a row before his final contest, a loss to Joe Beckett in 1920.
Was he too big to overcome? He hit you with them uppercuts.
Yet Burns was never able to escape the ridicule heaped upon him for agreeing to face Johnson. Despite his success as world champion, Burns was disgraced in the public imagination for losing the title to an African American.
Oh, but dig this, don't forget.
Over time, Burns invested his
want y'all
winnings in various
while
ventures.
we're here now.
Worked as a
Says that
manager
it has
and as a
identified
promoter.
as many as 100 drones launched by Iran heading toward Israeli airspace, and Israel says that it has started to at least attempt to shoot down some of those drones over Syrian airspace, as Jordan is attempting to take down some of the drones that are above its airspace. At the same time, we just got this new alert from Israel's home command urging people that they do not need to stay as close to shelters as they had been in the previous hours, indicating that Israel and the Israeli Defense Force believe at this point that they will be able to take out the incoming threat as we await what could be these waves of drones sent over anytime this hour. All of this follows what happened earlier this morning when Israel says it targeted the heart of Iran's nuclear capabilities in an operation it calls Rising Lion.
The Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal.
Has launched preemptive airstrikes against the Islamic Republic of Iran, going after a variety of positions inside the country. Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, declaring a special state of emergency across the country. Just moments ago, air raid sirens were sounding here in Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv and across major population centers here in the Middle East, warning civilians to stay close to protected areas, to bomb shelters, understanding that in the minutes and hours ahead, Israel may come under direct Iranian attack. We are getting a new statement from Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz. He says, in part, the state of Israel has launched a preemptive strike against Iran. Defense Minister Israel Katz declares a special and immediate state of emergency across the country. The state of Israel has launched a preemptive strike against Iran to remove threats to the state of Israel. As a result, a missile and UAV drone attack is expected against the state of Israel and its civilian population in the immediate time frame. Remember, there has been an ongoing U.S. military buildup across the region for the past 2 months. The world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, is now just off the coast of Israel, near to the northern city of Haifa. You have the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group
they've been
in the Arabian Sea, a variety of U.S.
now.
destroyers in locations across
That's what
the
he
region.
always do right before
and of
they
course,
strike.
US fighter jets, not only here
Let's
in
just
Israel,
see
but
it
also
coming.
in places like Jordan. You heard just last night,
See
President
it
Trump
coming when they
talking
parked
about
outside.
what he prefers, a peaceful and diplomatic path that was offered to the Iranians, understanding, though, that they have been incredibly difficult in the past to reach agreements with. And while the president sent his negotiators to the region, to Oman, and then ultimately to Geneva, Switzerland over the past month, both U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner, ultimately the coordination was happening at the highest level, we understand, between the Americans and the Israelis if a decision was made to launch such a strike. And so we are waiting to get additional information from Israeli and American sources.
You got fighter jets on that mud jumper that's like bumblebees.
But I'm going to give you all of the updates that we are getting in right now as we receive them.
With missiles.
We understand, according to the transportation minister of Israel, that Israel has now closed its airspace to civilian flights. Again, this is a precaution, understanding that the Israelis now are bracing for a variety of incoming possible ballistic missile and UAV attacks against their country. Remember, we were reporting here live during the 12-day war last June as the Israelis and the Iranians exchanged blows. And the Iranians have the ability to launch ballistic missiles. They take about 12 minutes to get to Israel, and they can cause significant damage to major population centers here. We also know that Israel has a variety of air defense systems at its ability, and some of those include the short-range systems, the Iron Dome system, the Arrow system, and also David's Sling. You also have Patriot missile defense systems and THAAD systems provided by the Americans that were deployed here in preparation for the possibility that a decision was made to strike Iran, understanding that there will be a response, as we saw over not just during the 12-day war, but also when the Israelis and the Iranians in 2024 exchanged blows 2 separate times in the spring of that year and also in October
in opposition
of
his
people. Again,
people.
if you are just joining us right now,
he was aiming his sling at the Philistines.
Israel has made a decision to launch preemptive airstrikes
on behalf of the Palestinians
amid the backdrop of a massive U.S. military buildup across the region.
Fighting the
A
Syrians.
special state of emergency has been declared across Israel. Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, is urging all civilians to head to bomb shelters immediately.
Supposed to get the people out of there first.
Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News
Supposed
YouTube
to get the
page
people out of there
and catch
before
our
that
hottest
even
news
happens.
and most
You know what I
compelling
mean?
analysis. You will not get it.
Seems like he's
anywhere
doing
else.
it in it seemed like he's doing
I'm
it
healthy,
in reverse.
convenient, won't break the bank. But my best quality is I'm delicious. And unlike those other
Trey.
Yes, Sandra, we are seeing what appear to be some interceptor rounds coming off from the sea, which means some of that missile fire certainly has started. As I talk to you here, we're just going to put on some protective gear, and my cameraman, Yaniv, is going to follow some of these small dots of light that you see in the sky. Remember, we do expect any sort of defensive response to be paired not only with Israeli systems, but also American systems. But this is an indication that that missile fire is imminent. Sandra,
And
John?
we know this is happening after the IDF, as we were just
Put me in a
discussing,
ballistic
just a
tank.
short while ago,
Wearing a
identified
ballistic
these
suit.
missiles launched from Iran
With a
towards
ballistic
the
helmet.
territory of the state
Ballistic
of Israel.
glasses.
The defense
Ballistic
systems are
face
operating
mask.
to intercept that
I
threat. We
still
know that,
gonna have
as you
to
are
think
doing
about
now,
it. I don't know.
public's been instructed
How
to
much
enter
y'all
a protected
paying
space
again?
from being there
Wait
until
a
further
minute.
notice.
A cameraman
We're
in
just
Tel
getting a
Aviv?
first-hand
You
look
gotta
at
be
what you
kidding
are
me.
going through just to
Hell
deliver
no.
the news from Tel Aviv at this hour.
Whatever the insurance pays, that's how much you got to pay
look,
me to
Sandra
go.
and John, when we talk about these missile attacks, we have seen them before. You might remember last year on April 1st, the Israelis targeted the Iranian consulate in Damascus, Syria, and they killed a top official from the IRGC. 12 days later, the Iranians responded with missiles and drones toward this country. There was a similar attack against Israel in October of 2024. And during that attack, we were in the northern city of Haifa, and you could see the incoming Iranian ballistic missiles over Syrian airspace as some of them were intercepted. And just stay with me here. I just want to talk to my crew very quickly to ensure we know what's happening. But just to give you a sense of how quickly these things happen, the Israelis do get an alert ahead of time. And an official told me just before we got on air here,
should we be
that
getting
the top
in the tank?
spokesman for the Israeli military, and I'm just going to step out of the frame here. You need off in the distance, look at the skyline.
No, he worried.
And you're going to see
the flying towards you. Like, man, should we be ducking? Now, I put the helmet on if I was you. They're coming in your direction, fool.
Coming to you right now.
They got two up back to back. If one don't get you, the other one gonna get you.
Ballistic missile fire.
Now, what if that drops right about there?
This is a very
Drop
fluid
right on your
situation, so
ass.
stay with us here. And I'm just going to toss it back to you for 10 seconds as I talk to the crew. I want to make sure everyone is prepared in case we need to move quickly.
Should we be getting in the tank, sir?
In a moment. Get back
I think we be getting in the tank right about now, y'all.
Well, Sandra, remember that we saw some of these similar attacks last year when the Iranians fired about 200 missiles at Israel. And in that case, the Iron Dome and the other defense systems shot down all of them, except about, I believe it was 60 of them. Now, at that point, the air defense systems were able to handle it, but Iran has thousands of ballistic missiles. And the thinking is if they want to overwhelm those air defense systems, then they would fire in much bigger bursts. We don't yet know how many have been fired at this point, but that is the only way that the Iranians will be able to get around the Israeli air defense system. So we have to see what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, Ben, this is happening at the moment. This is a live shot. You can see the skies lighting that up there. Trey, if you're in a safe position to do so, please do tell us what you're seeing and hearing.
The defense system.
Yeah, Sandra, this is a significant attack. The attack the Israelis have been preparing for in response.
So they say.
Air raid sirens are now starting to sound across Tel Aviv.
Should have been done that. You see them missiles flying over a long time ago.
Directions.
And they just starting to.
We don't know exactly how many missiles have been fired by the Iranians, but this is Israel's second largest city, a population of 300,000 people. And right now they are headed, and you're seeing an interception right there, up to the sky. You need, just stay with us. We just need to be calculated here. We're good here, and we are going to, okay, so right now what we are seeing, Sandra, is Israel's missile defense systems, likely along with American systems, working to intercept incoming ballistic missile fire. This is the attack that the Israeli army warned about. We spoke with officials before we started this live report, and they said they actually had to cut short a statement by Israel's top spokesman because they got some information that this attack was about to be underway. These sirens that you hear off in the distance, again, are used to warn the population.
Air raid sirens
shelters.
heard in Israel
And
as Iran
and see what
retaliates.
information we can gather about this. And we have a statement right now, Sandra, from the IDF, and I'm just going to read it to you in real time. A short while ago, sirens sounded in several areas across Israel following the identification of missiles from Iran toward the state of Israel. The public is asked to follow the instructions of the Home Front Command. At this time, the Israeli Air Force is operating to intercept and strike where necessary to eliminate the threat. It's essential to continue following the instructions of the Home Front Command. And so, again, the Israelis are operating in real time, not only to strike the missile launching positions inside of Iran, but also to shoot down any of that fire. And they will use
the defense systems on the ground, but also fighter jets. If there are any sort of drones that are flying toward Israel to try to distract the air defense systems.
When they
but
start
it gives you a sense. Okay, and I'm going to have my cameraman go back to the skyline here, and you're going to see more interceptor rounds coming off over Tel Aviv. The Iranians are targeting major population centers in Israel, again, in response to the operation overnight.
And they killed their supreme leader.
A number of IRGC officials. And we can see flashes in the skies over Tel Aviv. Just pull out of this shot here a little bit, Yaniv, and I'm just going to talk to my cameraman while we're talking here. So there are some interceptors. Okay, there are interceptors coming in off the sea, and you're going to see some in the distance. Skyline, there's a missile, and it is headed down. So some of this I can already see, John
camera off the missile that was going down.
We just saw one of the missiles. Okay, and there's an
he
interception.
Took the camera off the damn missile that was going down. I want to see what it hit.
Pull out here, Yaniv, and you're going to see the trail. Just listen here.
Oh, they don't want to show when they hit. One just hit. He better put that light down. I know that. That light's some BS.
Pull out a little bit.
You're like, hey, come on over here, bomb us.
Coming to Tel Aviv right now.
Say you want your building bombed, you got lights everywhere.
You need to get ready to pull up the stick. Get off the sticks. All right, let's go. Time to go.
Oh, shucks. Wait a minute. Boom.
Okay. Guys, come on. Everyone move. Everyone move now.
Yeah, they start. I guess it's time to get in the tank, huh? They're getting a little bit too close for comfort now. Uh-oh, he's coming right in on your ass.
A barrage of missiles, the likes of which we maybe did not see the last time. And the other unknown, Sandra, is as Iron Dome and David Sling and the Arrow system and the Terminal High Altitude Air Defense systems are all going off at the same time, it seems here. The last time this happened, there was a coordinated defense between Israel
they got us so desensitized, we don't realize
Jordan,
that this stuff is hitting civilians.
Well. Trey, I mean, it's unbelievable to see
just people heading to work, heading home. There you go, another one. They keep that damn banner in the way.
You saw those live images.
To show the hit.
Israel is under a massive ballistic missile barrage. I've reported here for nearly 7 years and never seen such an attack against an Israeli city. The amount of air defense that you saw going off there.
Take your punk ass back outside.
It appears that they are targeting some of these
show the back of the wall
positions in Tel Aviv.
Nobody wants to see the back of the wall.
Ministry of Defense, the Kiryat version of the Pentagon, is located just a couple miles from here. The fact that they had to start using those short-range missile defense systems indicates that this is a direct attack on Israel's second largest city. We don't know what's happening in other areas. And we have to wait and gather more information to get a full understanding of what was targeted. But from what we could see and what you saw in those live images, massive
barrage of missiles fired over Tel Aviv.
Explosions, flashes of light in Tel Aviv. That's when we made the decision to get a little bit more cover. Because
we made the decision to get in the tank, which is parked in the building.
And the Iranians right now are responding
on the third level down.
Waves of strikes that are taking place, targeting not only the
lower level
facilities, but also top IRGC officials, including the leader of the IRGC, Hussein Salami.
So we can't see shit.
And we can expect more Israeli
we might not be able to broadcast from down
there. Just given how intense the fire, almost certainly American defense systems were involved in this.
So we think.
We do not know if anything has been
about
hit,
to find
in the distance, we could see some of those ballistic missiles slipping past air defense and slamming into the ground. It's unclear at this point what they were able to hit.
So
because y'all aimed the damn camera
official
up.
directly to Fox News. Just want to reiterate to our audience, dozens of Iranian
want to show the hit.
Are en route to Israel. The people of Israel have been instructed to remain in bomb shelters until further notice. Based on the activity we just saw there, Trey, one might think there's more coming.
Go up to the top floor of the building.
Absolutely. This is a country that is prepared for the possibility of days of missile attacks coming from the Iranian regime. Even last night, when Israel's
tall
Prime Minister
buildings
Benjamin Netanyahu
just
spoke,
fine.
he talked about the fact that Israelis would have to stay in shelters
lower
much
level
longer
3
than they had to during previous rounds. And I just want to check my phone here as we're talking.
In the parking garage,
as you noted,
made out of
dozens of Iranian
concrete.
ballistic missiles being fired.
But then again, you might have a whole bunch of cars start caving in on your ass, and concrete and cars, and you be buried underneath all that stuff, trying to get out of there.
They're meant for rockets coming from places like
the concrete gonna be on top of the cars, so you might be able to crawl your way up out of there. You know,
with us, guys.
At least you're safe. You go outside, you're gonna get bombed.
Just stay with us. Talk to me, John. Sandra, I'm with you.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, so we can see that some smoke is rising from an area of downtown Tel Aviv as we saw a missile impact there. We don't know if it was a missile that came in unintercepted or if it was the remnants of a missile that was intercepted.
Yeah, you're going to
you can see a lot of smoke there, Trey, rising in downtown Tel Aviv.
He didn't even show
it. And guys, I want to caution you.
Raise the camera up in the air. We saw you.
What was hit? And we can't even confirm this impact.
So he was coming a little bit too close. Gotta go.
The air defense systems that were also working from that very area in the heart of Israel's second largest city. And so we often see smoke like that.
His eyes darting all over to the side. He's still listening for shit to fly in.
What was hit and what part of the city was hit. And we continue to gather that information. But as we talk here, and I'm going to just look at my phone for a moment because I'm seeing if any of our military sources have texted me about what's happening.
Hey,
but
Trey,
as we move forward, Trey, the Israelis are preparing.
If I could just jump in here for a second, Trey. As you were moving inside with your crew, we did see an impact and an explosion in that area where the smoke is rising from now with a remote camera. So it does look like there was some sort of missile impact.
Yeah, when you was running.
Yeah, and look, this area of Tel Aviv is very densely populated, right next to a main highway that moves along.
They should fire him and hire me.
We're getting some information in, but I just
can't
confirm it in real time, and so I'm being very careful with what I tell you, given how sensitive this is. What I can say, just according to the couple text messages I just read
the bombs are dropping all around us. Well, let's just step in the tank and take the footage from the
ensuring that
inside of the tank.
And
we're going to keep the footage going. We ain't going no damn way.
I do want to just review what we saw when we
ain't going to be taking no footage of the roof of the tank.
We saw Israel's right out systems active from all directions. And the fact that these close-range systems in Tel Aviv were active so close to where we were, intercepting missiles just over this city, it's an indication, once again, that Israel has the capability to shoot down some of this incoming fire.
Stop the propaganda. A lot of it was getting
that is part of the concern as this story develops and as the Israelis continue to strike Iran. They can hit many of these launching positions, but the Iranians have thousands of ballistic missiles that they could use against Israel. And as we heard in that statement that we got from an Iranian official coming from Iran's supreme leader, they are preparing for war with Israel. And Israeli officials are not yet calling it a war, but what we are looking at is days of
all them
conflict
missiles shooting over your ass.
The city is very quiet right now because people are still in bomb shelters. This is a country that has experienced these types of missile attacks before. And when we look back to
America,
the October 2024
over there pushing buttons and saying, "Yeah, we in."
There were
but look where we at. We way over here.
This country.
So we in for now. But then we're gonna leave you by yourself.
Careful.
You know how we do it.
Saying here. They told us that many of them were intercepted. It was very successful. The reality was videos started to come out showing that Israeli bases took significant damage because these missiles are traveling so fast and there's only a limited amount of air defense capability on the ground here. And remember, that was a missile attack that was in response to the killing of the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, and Hamas leadership, including Ismail Haniyeh, in the Iranian capital of Tehran. What we saw overnight, it's hard to even put into words how much more significant it is. What we're looking at right now is the big conflict that everyone discussed for decades, a possibility between Israel and Iran. Overnight, the Israelis took out the entirety of Iran's IRGC Air Force leadership. Again, as we can report from sources that we've talked to in the Israeli security establishment, that was a surprise attack. They got these officials to a meeting point in Iran and kept them there before killing all of them. They killed the head of the IRGC. They killed Iran's top nuclear scientist. They have damaged both the Natanz facility and other enrichment facilities in Iran. They have targeted missile production sites. They have targeted launching positions. And the Israelis are continuing to strike Iran as we speak. And so
it places what is happening right now in such a larger frame. The one thing that we should note here, and this is very important when we look at the context of the current ballistic missile attack that just took place against Israel and the ongoing conflict between officials here that are now conducting an ongoing operation against Iran and the Iranians, is that Iran no longer has the strength of its proxies, like Hezbollah in southern Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen. Now, the Houthis have still been able to maintain a ballistic missile capability. Earlier today, they fired a ballistic missile at Israel. It had actually landed outside the West Bank city of Hebron, but they are able to fire in very small moments. They're not able to launch large barrages. Hezbollah was long considered the biggest threat to Israel in a possible conflict with Iran. But as we know, the Israelis methodically took out the leadership of Hezbollah, from Hassan Nasrallah to members of the Radwan forces. We were with Israeli forces on the ground in southern Lebanon as they cleared out the villages and the rocket launching positions along the border.
Damn, look at all
after
the missiles,
precision missile components
one
and
goes
sites
straight
in
down.
Lebanon, in the capital
And they
of
got,
Beirut.
oh,
And so
bang!
Israel's main focus
Right in the
now
middle
is
of them
defending
buildings.
not about attacks from places like Gaza or Lebanon or Yemen, but directly from Iranian territory. And we know that they have the ability to strike major population centers.
They
We're
need
getting
to
some
move that damn
information
banner
now
out the
from
way.
the top spokesman for the medics in Tel Aviv. And they say that following the recent red alert sirens, no calls have been received for emergency dispatch at this time. So
Here we go,
it's an
another one.
indication
There we
that
go.
despite the fact we saw some of those missiles landing inside Israel and those interceptions overhead that certainly create significant shrapnel that rains down on the population below. At this point, initial reports
go run
indicate there
into
are
the
no
building.
injuries. Again, this is very preliminary information. And as we talk here again, I'm just checking through the different sources that we're getting information from. And I again, just want to be very careful about what I report live here because we're getting a lot of different information and we need to confirm it in real
Another
time.
one goes
John,
straight
well,
down.
That certainly would be extraordinary, Trey, if you don't have any
If
injuries.
they move that
we
damn
saw
banner,
at
we
least
can see
3
some of these
impacts.
shots going
Looks like a
straight down.
couple were from damaged missiles that had been intercepted, and then one seemed to come in full force, and the smoke hanging over Tel Aviv. But if indeed this is the beginning of war between Israel and
You
Iran,
think?
it would seem to me that it's going to look
What?
very
And
different
us?
depending on which country you're in. Iran has no other
They're gonna
capability, it
attack
would seem,
US
other than to throw
US is in
these
this
ballistic
as well.
missiles into Israel. Meantime,
And they're dealing with the
Israel
cartel
is
as
capable
well,
of widely
same time.
penetrating Iran's airspace, launching pinprick attacks to take out its infrastructure. And so Iran's got to be worried that while it may be able to lob missiles at Israel and get the odd impact, as we saw here tonight, Israel can hit where it wants, when it wants, and who it wants.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the other part of all of this, and I think it's something we have to talk about, it's the American forces and the bases and embassies across the region. And we saw earlier in the week a decision that was made by the Americans to partially evacuate the U.S. embassy in Baghdad. All non-essential personnel told to leave. Other embassies and U.S. missions in places like Bahrain and Kuwait, there was a voluntary evacuation order for the family members of embassy staff and military forces in these areas. The concern is that not only will Iran try to target Israeli population centers like Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, but that the Iranians will try to target U.S. bases and U.S. forces in the Middle East. And I think back to January of 2020, I was in Baghdad, Iraq, reporting following the drone strike that was ordered by President Trump to kill top Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. And at the time, the Iranians responded with 13 ballistic missiles, and they soared through the skies of Iraq and targeted Western Iraq at a base called Ain al-Assad. There is concern that something like this could happen in the hours and days ahead as the Iranians respond to the Israeli strikes.
All right, Trey,
John,
we're
Sandra.
going to let you catch your breath. Check in on
illiterate
yours.
African-American sharecroppers were recruited with promises of medical care. Only 399 actually had the disease, but none were told their true diagnosis. The participants believed they were receiving treatment, unaware that they were part of a secret experiment. The men received meals, basic assistance, and funeral insurance as incentives, but not the cure. Even after penicillin was discovered as an effective treatment in 1947, the study continued until 1972. Victims included infected wives and children born with congenital syphilis. The case became a symbol of institutional racism and medical abuse. In 1997, Bill Clinton issued a formal apology. In 1951, Dr. Albert Kligman of the University of Pennsylvania began using Holmeswood Prison in Philadelphia as a site for medical experiments. The complex, inaugurated in 1896 and known for its radial design, housed thousands of inmates. There, Kligman saw a scientific opportunity and initiated tests that would later be associated with the development of retin A, but also with serious ethical concerns. For 2 decades, prisoners received applications of creams, deodorants, shampoos, hair dyes, and industrial chemicals. Many suffered severe reactions, such as burns, blisters, scars, and intense pain. Reports also describe poisonings and constant inflammations. Some inmates were subjected to as many as 20 tests at the same time.
Yeah, breaking news, breaking news. You know what? I'm gonna let them tell you.
Including with the announcement that the Supreme Leader was killed.
Yeah, so the reaction was fast and furious at first. A lot of opinions on this, and they really kind of cut along party lines, although you did see a number of Republicans who were critical of this military action taken by President Trump,
Ayatollah
because this was done without
Khamenei.
congressional approval. Also, they were upset about how the Venezuela operation played out. Not only was it done without congressional approval, but it was also done without notifying the Gang of Eight. Now, that did happen in this instance. We know Secretary Marco Rubio reached out to all 8 members and was able to get a hold of 7 of the 8.
Pattern, Mr. Trump.
in detail they were briefed. But
I think that's
notification was made hours before this
violation of
played
his
out.
parole.
But right now, we're seeing a lot of questions raised
probation,
about why
whatever
this was carried out,
ankle
and also
in the White House,
what comes next. Actually, Senator
34
Susan
count
Collins wrote
convicted
the
felon,
important question that will be discussed in the Senate's classified briefing with the administration next week. They will raise some important questions there. We also heard from Senator Rand Paul, who said that the Constitution conferred the power to declare or initiate war to Congress for a reason, to make war less likely. So
yeah, he's supposed to go to the commission, like a mob.
Get on board here, and I think
he's just taking matters in his own hands, like he's
setting up
the Vincenzo or somebody,
to address the full chamber, both House and Senate next week. And this is a realization by the administration that they really kind of have to
just murder Inc.
control the narrative here in
point
a lot of
and they
respects.
go
Not just
shooting rockets into water and ships
and
without
you know,
any confirmation or anything.
But also the plan forward, because certainly you have Democrats like Senator Schumer, who are calling for that war powers resolution to essentially rein in the military authority of the president going forward.
And they're calling for that war powers resolution.
That's so we won't have no
vote. Are we
vote.
seeing any real movement to essentially reassert congressional war powers? I mean, are we looking for emergency hearings, maybe classified briefings? Are there anything that you see that can potentially lead to some kind of movement for Congress?
You know what he's doing.
That's a really good question, and I
War
think the
Powers
next
Act.
24 to 48 hours, we're going to see how this kind of plays out as we learn more and more details.
As
about
well
this
as
operation.
Alien
Also,
Enemies
a big
Act,
thing to
which he
note
already
is whether or not going forward, we're going to see American troops potentially in harm's way. I think that would also potentially change some of the conversation. But what I would point out is that the last war powers resolution failed in both the House and the Senate. That was after that Venezuela operation. Remember, Democrats were outraged, not just because this was taken without congressional authority, but also because the Gang of Eight was not notified. Here, you had the Gang of Eight notified. They didn't seek authorization from Congress. But that might give enough cover to Republicans to again shoot down any notion of a war powers resolution. But again, I think a lot of this hinges on how those briefings go next week. The administration knows that controlling that narrative and framing this in a particular way is very much critical for their mission going forward.
All right, Alex Prochet, thank you so much. Stay with us for continuing coverage from ABC News Live on the joint strikes of the U.S.
Yeah, stay with me. I'll be black on the scene as it comes. You know what I mean?
Says that it has identified as many as 100 drones launched by Iran heading toward Israeli airspace, and Israel says that it has started to at least attempt to shoot down some of those drones over Syrian airspace as Jordan is attempting to take down some of the drones that are above its airspace. At the same time, we just got this new alert from Israel's home command urging people that they do not need to stay as close to shelters as they had been in the previous hours, indicating that Israel and the Israeli Defense Force believe at this point that they will be able to take out the incoming threat as we await what could be these waves of drones sent over anytime this hour. All of this follows what happened earlier this morning when Israel says it targeted the heart of Iran's nuclear capabilities in an operation it calls Rising Lion.
The Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal.